Yeah.
How do I do that?
It'll be here. Unimportant.
That's not a lot of. Because I bought it off the Jeff House.
That's right. Someone's holding on.
You can check that out.
Was
Oh, we're good.
Hold on.
was an accident. We'll talk about it.
That's what we say in the legal.
Okay, you're ready.
So that's what you want to do?
Yeah.
So ours can.
Do I let them in? Oh, yeah, I did. Everyone's in, right?
Yeah, that person's on that list.
Okay. Go ahead.
Call to order. We'll start with roll call. Okay, we'll start with you.
Steve Barbas, past chair, represent Ybor City Museum Society.
Krista Aaron, work at CAC, member at large.
Jack French, president, member at large. Michael Murphy, Sophia Gallery, at large and
David Bailey, resident and representing Historic Ybor Neighborhood Civic Association.
Rich McIntyre, vice chair at large, I guess, in McIntyre.
Stephen Navarro, Ybor City S Team Operations Supervisor.
Marcia Austin, homeowner and resident.
Lee Bell, Ybor Chamber.
Tori Blanchard. Good afternoon, Senator Curry, CR Director.
Austin resident and Tinko board member. Jose Leon, being a board member in residence.
Justin Martin, Stanford Police Department.
Nick Galaxy,
Celia Million, taxi and TPD.
Also, South Police Zone. Jay Stackman, all of Diego.
Bean Parks, Tampa City. Claire McMullen, Alfred Harris Technologies.
Thank you.
Miguel Sanchez, TNI, City of Tim.
Brenda Thrower, Control Zero Manager.
Tom DeGeorge, Ybor Merchants Association. That's all of us. Okay, public comment.
Hi, my name is Marcia Austin, and I'm a former board member, and I'm here today because I know there's going to be a budget presentation. And I have lived in Ybor for 8 years, which I know compared to many in this room, that's a minute. But in that minute, I've seen a lot of changes. And the changes that I saw in the budget were not necessarily positive. And the reason I say that is because I felt that I joined the board in 2020. And at that time, we had subcommittees that did a lot of work. And in those subcommittees, people really rolled up their sleeves and got their hands dirty and figured out what needed to be done. And in 23, the city, in the interest of efficiency, got rid of those subcommittees. And I think they streamlined the budget process to the point where it lacked inclusivity and transparency. And I know there's a budget proposal or a budget process presentation today. And what I would like to say is that those two elements are absolutely critical. As far as inclusivity, while external resources are always valued for budget, nobody knows Ybor better than the people who live here, who are here 24/7, 12 months a year. And I think they're sort of excluded in the budget process. And then as far as transparency, one of the last things I asked for before I left the board was, could we please have a budget item for trees? And at that time, the city was going to give Ybor trees, but they needed some funding to take care of the trees. So a budget item was put in there. When we heard recently that the city, or I was told their budget item, when you heard recently that the city might not give us those trees, they might not have the budget to give us the trees, I asked David, well, there is something in the budget for taking care of the trees, isn't there? He didn't know. That's not transparency. So as we look at the budget process, I hope the board members and the city will consider those two elements because I think they're absolutely critical. And if we're not being inclusive and we're not being transparent, that budget process isn't worth its salt for any city, but especially for Ybor City, which the city claims is their cultural gem. We can do better, and I think we have to. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Oh, go ahead.
Thanks. We've come a long way in Ybor, but I think you got a long way to go. Ybor is more than one street. I know we're gonna be talking about budget, and some of the constraints that we have in Ybor as residents is safety, pedestrian safety, walkability. Speeding seems rampant through the neighborhood. We need speed tables. A lot of the crosswalks on busy streets are not striped. We need speed cameras. Down by the school here, you rarely see people going 15 miles an hour where the kids are and when the parents are dropping them off. We have a dog park. We need trees. We need sidewalks. Many of our sidewalks on the other streets have these ground boxes that we either put for Ethernet or communications, and they're cracked or broken, or their foot could go through and break an ankle. Go throughout Ybor. Our image, been here 8 years, people are still saying, what's it like living down there? Is it still safe? It's concerning. As far as the budget process is concerned, I really think it's important. I looked at the city website today, and one of the mayor's strategic goals was strengthening resident services. Strengthening resident services, and I'll quote, Tampa needs a solid foundation built on strong quality, basic services that are connected to the community it serves, with customer experience emphasized. I do want to commend Councilmember Young and TPD and city officials when they had the town hall about pedestrian safety at early February. But kudos to it being at 6 o'clock where the community could attend. I will read to you from Fox 13. City leaders met with residents at a packed Ybor City Community Town Hall to discuss pedestrian safety after a deadly crash killed 4 people last November. So if we can accommodate and be convenient to the working resident and business owner, that they can attend key meetings after 5 o'clock, I think that would be a great thing. I really am proud to live here. I love this community. Let's work together to make it better. But let's work together.
I just want to echo something that Marcia brought up. So I've served on this board for 4 years, and before that, I served when Vince Pardo was the manager. And I feel like the CRA has gotten significantly off track on some of the things that Marcia mentioned in terms of the budget. If they truly want community buy-in and integration into this board and the budgeting process, we would have workshops in January, February. We'd be discussing these things. It'd be back and forth. It wouldn't be a presentation of a budget and us able to do nominal little changes, and then it has to be done by a certain amount of time. So I don't want to say I encourage. I think the CRA has to get back to what we did before in terms of community engagement, get serious about it, and have workshops and listen to what the neighborhood wants. So,
Anybody else? Public comment?
Quick question. Sorry, Claire from Alfred Harris. This is my first meeting, so I'm not sure when I'm supposed to chime in. Just so you know, I'm a commercial tenant. We rent the Don Vicente building from CAC Ybor, so we're right at that HCC parking lot where the stop number 3 is for the streetcar. And we have noticed an increased uptick in activity in that parking lot. Not just the normal teenagers hanging out at night, but over the weekend we had gun activity. We are working with the local police department. Of course, our company, we have to go through legal before we can provide footage and things like that. But we are secure 24/7, 365 with guards. And the increase of individuals starting fights, whether using their weapon or showing it, has grown increasingly. I'm concerned with the summer and the nicer weather that will continue to grow. So I'm not sure if that's something we can talk about in this meeting. And I can kind of learn to understand how we go about it as tenants and not residents, how we can do our best to support, because obviously we love Ybor City. Alfred Harris has been here since 2021. And we're renewing for another 5 years. So we would like to continue to bring our US government customers and our teammates from around the world to Ybor. It's a selling point when we're doing business, but it's also a great place for them to enjoy versus always going to Big Dill or going to a military base. But I also want them to be safe. And that's daytime or nighttime. Hopefully I can learn how Ybor works for community outreach and things like that, so that we can participate too, because even though we don't live here, we're very fond of your town and your city, so we want to be involved where we can be. Thanks for having us.
Any other public comment? All right, move on to the next item on the agenda, the approval of the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes.
Sorry.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right. On to the community policing updates, the Tampa Police Report.
Yes, hi, everybody. Again, I'm Yuselia Milione. I'm the captain of this area, so I'm the one that ends up dealing with any of the safety issues that come up. For that one in particular, we are still waiting on video. Obviously, I would always harp that for every organization, I totally understand the legality of it, but the faster we get that video, the faster we're able to solve the crime. So that specific incident ended up happening on Sunday night in the overnight hours into Monday morning, which is not our normal Ybor deployment where we have the extra folks there on Friday and Saturday night. So that happened to be just a one-off night. And again, it appears to be that it was a mutual fight that ended up breaking out from wherever they were hanging out. We did discuss possibly putting up we have like trailer cameras and stuff like that in that actual lot. So I'll probably get that worked out. We're just deciding on whether we're gonna do a license plate reader one that also captures video or just the actual camera itself, just to be able to help, monitor these areas, especially if we start to see people congregate. If you guys are working, I don't know, I'm assuming you're not working with those late hours anyways, but if you guys see something, you start seeing people congregate, obviously calling and flagging down an officer, calling 911. When people are starting to fight, that's always going to be helpful to get us out there faster, and to be able to deal with it. Overall, I know Brenda already shared the stats and everything like that. We are adding, as you can see, the last few months, we've been adding the homeless stats, which shows basically the things that we're working on our part. It's not just necessarily call for service, but it's also providing services. I know that they already told you guys their name, but I want them to introduce themselves to you guys so that you guys get to know the officers that are in this area. Again, our homeless liaisons are now built out to where they work 7 days a week. They're not just Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday. So now we have the A cycle, B cycle, if you guys understand how our schedule works. These set of officers are A cycle, they just started today. They'll be here for the next 4 days, and there will be a different set of officers, 2 officers in the next one. If your next meeting ends up falling on a B cycle day, I'll have those guys come introduce themselves to you. But they also help. You have your own special officers that obviously work in your area, in your specific location, but they supplement to that. They're kind of helping on the resource, and they could probably share with you a little bit more on what they do and what they've been doing.
Officer, back can call me Jay. I'm a liaison. We lots of stuff for the most part. We interact with the homeless community. We do a lot of educating, try to help them understand local ordinances, what to do, what not to do. You probably heard it said before. It's not a crime to be homeless, but homeless do kind of engage in some of the same types of crimes that are violating. So we do a lot of educating. We provide services, give bus tickets, train tickets if they want to leave town and meet certain criteria. We're able to help them out with that. Housing, we're able to assist them in finding housing if they want to find housing for some. They have to meet certain criteria for that. So things of that nature is what we do. And for the most part, that's pretty much it.
We've been dealing a lot of some of the chronic people who try to, just, hey, where you from? You want to go see your family again? You have a sister, mom, friend that's willing to get you back. kind of get them out of here. We have a few that have been chronic, even since before I started with TPD that was shipped out. So if there is a time, say later than 5, when we hear that somebody's typically a problem with your businesses, just let us, we'll find a way to talk to them, and maybe if it's not getting a shelter, we'll get them back home if they're not from town or get them a job, maybe. Because some of the shelters do it up to that, it's just they don't know about it. Is that?
Need brief, profile information on the female that's been around for a very long time.
Barbara?
I think Barbara, yeah.
Yes, Barbara.
What, like, what, I don't want to say what she needs, because I don't want to sound glib, but she's clearly dealing with it.
So a lot of times you run into, mental health issues. And they're kind of hard to deal with, especially if the person is not willing to go, seek any type of help. So when she commits violations that we can, cite her on, arrest her on, this is not just her, anybody, we'll do so. But a lot of the times, if they're just walking down the sidewalk, we have got a day that you got to call for, and he was having an argument with himself, and he got very violent with himself as he was having an argument. I don't know who won, but then we got a call about that, and there's not much we can do. We asked him, could we help him with anything? He kind of came back to it, like, oh, they called on me. Okay, well, I'll get my stuff and I'll move along. We can't force him to leave. He's actually on the sidewalk. But, things of that nature is how we kind of can interact with people like that. I'm new to the area, but I guess she's a repeat offender, chronic. So
She's chronic, often unclothed.
Yes.
The issue with her is once you make contact with her, she's very coherent. She knows what she's doing, what she's gonna say, and let's go, we take me to jail, right? Let's go. So she's very, although she's dealing with mental health issues, she is, once you talk to her, it's just like a regular conversation. Just like the South Park guy we had earlier, in front of his business. Blind Tiger, between Blind Tiger and Acropolis. We walked up to him, he went from 10 to maybe a 2, had a conversation with us, wanted him to leave, grabbed his bags and walked off. So, because we can't, on a mental health part, we can't just take it in the Bristol, because that Baker Act, that Marshman Act is an arrest. And, we can't just take away their rights just because we feel like, hey, this guy's not right today. They have to want the help, and they have to be willing to accept the help we offer. Unless they're doing something out of the ordinary, then you just momentarily take those rights.
Yeah, so for the Baker Act, it's required that they meet the qualifications, whether they're a threat to themselves or someone else. So if they start trying to harm someone else, obviously we're good to go at that point. Whether we go the criminal aspect or whether we go behavioral health aspect and mental health aspect, that's up to our victim at that point, But, unfortunately, it's more often than we care to deal with, but it is an ongoing issue. What we could do as the city, we try to, get more resources, but again, the problem is forcing someone to get help,
Well, I have a follow-up on that question because this individual has been here for a decade. Seems like that long. I don't know, maybe that's probably not true. Yeah. Similarly in East Ybor, we have Richard Ricky Clark, who, whose family was there, and when they left, he remained. And he's also similar, has mental health issues, but otherwise, it's just to make sure that they were ignoring. Is there, when you talk about, resources to get these folks, in homes and jobs, and like when they have those mental health issues, is there something extra? Particularly when we have fixtures, we know these individuals, nothing else is work. They're not willing to take any additional help to move off the street. Just extra to approach them, a social worker or something.
Yeah, so we do have our behavioral health units that actually follow up on the cases. If they can, with the unhoused individuals, obviously it's a matter of finding them. So we do have them working, they're typically on till I think about 8 p.m. And so if they get a call reference, let's say Barbara is naked again, they will come out with a clinician that rides with them. They're not always, they might be on something else. It might not, the timing is, essential in that aspect, but we can always write something when we make contact with them to forward it to them for them to then follow up later on. It would just be a matter of them being able to find them. Usually, if we have something that's related to a call at someone's house, and then we know we can make contact with you at your residence. So, it's a little bit more different when they would have to try to follow up the next day, to, basically, re-interview them, see where they're at, see if they can get them resources to get them on some kind of medication or, see a doctor or something like that. But again, these guys can have the conversations, they can have the conversation. It's been endless. If you actually pulled, a public information request on the person, you could probably see how many reports we have with them, how many times we've made contact with them, and how many times we offered them resources. And unfortunately, on average, I don't know, right now, maybe 50-50. I would say more like 30-70, what I mean, that actually will take the help. The others, they like being where they're at. And as many times as we've arrested Barbara specifically, she always finds her way back there.
Yeah.
And that's, from the jail, you know what I mean? She figured out how to get back here. She knows this place, so,
So you mentioned the trailer,
Yes.
camera trailer. How many, do you have camera trailers allocated for Ybor City? Or are they just a general piece of police equipment, and if you have need, you requisition it and they,
Correct. It's a requisitioned, request that is throughout the entire city. So it gets pulled for Gasparilla. It'll get pulled to District 1 or downtown, depending on where we need it. And so anytime that we need resources, they would get pulled. I could have it to where I can basically argue to keep it for, a period of time, but I guarantee you they'll pull it for every parade, and then I can ask them to have it back,
you only have one?
No, we have multiple. They have, and they'll do it, again, it depends on what's going on. So holidays, I can tell you District 1 has all the malls, so they'll have them over deployed there during holiday seasons. Over off the Dale Mabry corridor because of all the amount of thefts and auto burglaries that occur in such a small radius. So again, it'll go based off of where the need is at. And there are multiple ones. I couldn't tell you how many off the top of my head because our traffic unit has them, our intelligence unit has them, and our real-time crime center has them. So I just pull from, hey, anybody, give me something, and then they're like, hey, you can have this, and then hopefully they forget about it for a while.
You could budget for that though.
Brandon, I was gonna ask,
Donate one to the Ybor.
what would be the chances of us talking about putting these trailers in our budget to increase security? I mean, why would
We have a community policing line item.
Okay.
Is that something we can discuss with the budget?
Yeah, but we have an estimate for that and what that would be.
I can get all that information from you through, the guys that actually do the purchasing and stuff like that and get you guys an idea. And then again, what type? So yeah, that's the other thing is there's, different companies, there's different pricings, there's different, quality. Ideally, we would like something that feeds into Genetech, which is the company that we use for our surveillance video. That way it all feeds into the program that we use. And then whether you guys want license plate readers attached to that, that's gonna cost more money. You know what I mean? The more it is, the more it costs, right?
They measure volume also? Decibels?
That would be different if you wanted to do something with noise, that would add to it. And, then again, it would depend on stationary where it's at, what it would pick up, because it's also going to pick up traffic. I don't know if you guys are aware of how decibels work. It picks up noise everywhere. So, I don't know if you would be able to find one that's just for music. I'd have to look into that.
Brenda, how would we go about if we were interested collectively?
Well, we need to have an estimate. We have to work with the police on maybe a policing plan that would include this. And because they already have there is a line item for the Ybor squad, which that's already there.
Well, there would be one way where we would be renting or whatever, getting an allocation of their equipment, but why wouldn't there be a possibility of us actually buying equipment?
Someone's got to monitor it. We're a funding agency, so we would fund it, but the police, they have to be with the police, someone's got to take care of it.
So the concept is a possibility that.
There's always a possibility.
You guys
You could fund it and donate to the city and it would be allocated to.
Exclusively here.
Because you paid for it.
Correct. Yeah, we did that with some signals. What was those years ago? We had variable message boards, I think, or something like that. It was purpose for Ybor
Yes.
ages ago.
When does this budget have to close out? Like,
So we're gonna have that discussion next month, the budget. So these are things that we start lining up. But there's already a community policing line item, but right now it's been really allocated towards the Ybor task force, or the squad that comes in at night, the over and beyond, regular service police presence in Ybor. So that would be an innovation. But I think it would be best to fund a program that would include all that, so that maybe we can get with the cap and see what that looks like.
Okay.
And then maybe we can bring it back
Put a
next
little
month.
subcommittee together.
No subcommittee,
No?
she could just come forward and just tell us what that looks like. That sounds good.
So would that
Make a
help
plan for it.
in creating a more secure environment?
I would say anything that would help us would be able to help solve the crimes like immediately. So if it's something that we have access to, yeah, of course. Rather, I mean, and no offense, obviously, it has a, she has to go through legal,
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm delaying the process as well.
right? So, you know what I mean? And so now it just takes longer for me to get the quality. I don't even know if it's good enough quality as far as the, how good the security system is, if I'm gonna be able to make an ID off of it.
I'm going more towards deterrence as opposed to solving, obviously we want to solve any crimes, but if you have those trailers, people know they're being filmed.
Right.
The hope would be that it would actually be proactive,
Yeah.
to stop things.
You're gonna see people argue throughout everything. I feel like, some people are, says eggs are good for you. Some people say eggs are bad for you. People say, yes, it deters because it has a light on it. It says police on it, so they go, oh, okay. But then, of course, we still have crimes that occur at the mall. So even though we have them posted everywhere, we still have offenses.
Can
It's
the
not
trailer
like,
be monitored from the understand?
yeah, we have our real-time crime center that watches and has them up on screens and stuff like that. If you guys have ever, not been up there, I mean, we can always arrange for you guys to see what it looks like and what we can monitor and stuff like that. Especially during like certain, off seasons, or especially with summer, stuff like that, when we gets ramped up and a lot of people start showing up. Big events, those are always very helpful. The big events is usually when I can start pulling the drones, and be able to help with any, big event that is in Ybor. That's also another thing that helps out. But again, that's also training for the pilot, and I mean, it's a lot on that part. Go ahead.
Follow-up question on the incident that was mentioned, was that in the HEC parking lot that's managed by City of Tampa? Is that the lot?
Yeah, I don't actually know who.
Yeah.
During the day it's HCC, and then at night it transfers to the public parking.
Right.
And then Don Vicente, we have a little sliver where we live of our private parking that is also leased out to a private parking company in the evenings.
Innovation. Sorry.
And there is whoever technically owns the larger piece of the lot that takes it over after HCC, they do have a security guard company because they speak to our guards, and my guards are unarmed, so they don't get involved. If something occurs, they are aware to retreat into the building. But those guards, I think they're through the second or third company. It rotates a lot, so that could also be part of the problem. They're maybe not properly trained on what their responsibilities are for the parking lot.
The reason why I was asking is, if I understand correctly, the city of Tampa manages that lot at night. And so therefore, the security officers for the parking department would be covering that lot.
Chris is saying that actually that parking lot's managed by Evolution.
Yeah.
Well, part of that, small,
That's
Small
just
part.
the small
Yeah.
part that.
the bigger portion of the city of Tampa.
So is that the same people that are the new contract for
Yeah, like in the blue.
the garages, what Fed
They go
was saying about
security.
the.
Yeah, I'll have to find out. I can get with Fed and find out if they cover that parking lot.
Remember,
But
having it, so.
I feel like we just had a meeting and he was telling me, I just don't remember that lot being one of them. I'll have to look into it for you.
And the decibel thing, there's a company called Sound Thinking. They offer similar police support with a decibel that can, if purchased by the right company that can feed in, it will provide certain sound alerts to the local police department, which then could respond if they feel that the noise fits necessary reporting requirements.
Any more questions for TBD?
Question. I know a couple of years ago, there was a big push to try to update or link some of the cameras that got installed during the 2012 Republican convention, or is there a specific section in the section that are live or
So all of them are live and recorded, so they do both. They are all synced into the same system. We're actually incorporating another system, which is gonna get even more confusing for you guys, but it's a system called Fusus, and it's basically trying to pull all our LPRs, because we have multiple different places that we're pulling information from, and it's going to pull them all together on like one pretty map that's gonna, if I wanted to look for a, guy in a yellow shirt, and it would, show me a camera that can, prop it right to him, so it'll be able to do, it's a lot of AI features that help us be able to do our job better. So they did already sync them, they're all together in one thing, and you do record, yes. Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you very much. for your
thank
time.
you, appreciate you guys.
We're gonna move on to the enhanced code enforcement report, Officer Nick Cox.
Yeah. Yeah, but Nick Cox, the code enforcement. So since the last time I was here, we have 35 new cases initiated within the Ybor area. That doesn't include previous cases that have been followed through with whether that be citations or going to hearings. And then with the Ybor reports, we have been monitoring some of the parking situations going on in regards to the cruise ship parking. And then queue lines, we've been addressing that and some vendors. But for the most part, as of late, it's been fairly quiet outside of some queue lines. Any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll answer.
What happened with the cruise ship document?
So where we're at right now, the cruise ship parking on Fourth has stopped. We got them to a hearing, and that's ceased to, that operation has stopped. The parking on Sixth Ave, right by the City of Tampa garage. I am in the middle of a case right now. That lot was previously approved for parking. And I sent that over to zoning saying, we know it's previously approved, however, what is the intent of their approval? And they came back and just said they're approved to park 30 cars. This is my decision. I've talked with the supervisor. It's probably been, I think, 2 weeks, since that came back, and we have held off on issuing that because we're trying to get more clarification. We don't want to set a precedent that, hey, that approval allows them to park overnight parking wherever, whatever cars they want, no questions asked, they can have 30 cars. So, we are just kind of at a standstill waiting on zoning and or, historic preservation to get back with us and give us a determination on that before we can move forward.
So when they exceed 30 cars, there's no question.
If they exceed 30 cars, there's no question. Absolutely. Unfortunately, that is not a citation offense. And I can look into that on what we can do about that. But as for the use case, I'm holding off because I don't think you guys care if they have 30 cars or if it was 60, you guys would care, but I think more so you guys don't want those cars here at all. Because it's not for Ybor, it's for channel side and it's overnight park. So, that case is active. The last I've heard, I actually haven't been out to Ybor, during the night shift in probably about 5 weeks. They stopped parking along the railroad, the cruise ship parking over next to the hotel. So I don't know if that is continued. But we're as they pop up, we're trying to get them, but unfortunately, we're at the behest of zoning, their determinations.
So you're seeing with the parking lot, so you find that's making a difference, or the parking lots using the parking lot attendants during the Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, so the parking lot attendants, TBD statistics, I don't know if they're making a difference. That would be a question for them. I would say that we have seen much more everybody's complying with it, everybody's a part of it. And, you know, I think that we're seeing less issues in the parking lot on our end of, you know, our side of things. However, I mean, I really think that's a question for TPD and yourselves, whether or not, you know, you guys feel like there's an issue, especially later hours, with the parking lots.
But from your perspective, they're there. The parking lot.
Yeah, they have been there. They absolutely. I can't think of the last time we've inspected one and they haven't had one there. Yeah, but I mean, it's only required Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we go out once, you know, we're only there one day a week and it changes, so.
But just to clarify that point, they're required to be there, but they're also required to be there until 4 AM or the last car leaves. And
Yes.
I would bet really big money that they are not. So they're
Yeah.
not complying by the code. They're just complying by the code enough for a while you guys are out and about. And I'm not putting that on you.
Yeah.
Because your staffing cuts off at, you know, midnight or whatever. So they're not complying by the code. They're just complying by the code on the beginning of the night, not the end of it.
And that's part of why I say, you know, that's something really, a question for y'all. Because, you know, we're not here at 4 AM and even it's actually, it reads 4 AM or the last car. So, you know, they could get out of there earlier, but I don't know, because we're out at 2. I will say they stay until 2 because, you know, we've been here until 2, right up to that time, working a little, you know, over. And, they're there, but Mr. Bailey's right. They could just be playing a game with us, you know?
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. No, no.
On to the Ybor Yes Team report.
Good afternoon. Sorry, it's me and not Mark. He's in Boston right now on our Connect and Share meeting. It's a national meeting that we have. It's a positive thing for the district because he gets to see how larger operations operate and take those good ideas and bring them back to Ybor. So that's always a positive thing. February was a very busy month for the Ybor City Yes team, especially on the cleaning side. We had a couple events. We had Fiesta Day, we had the St. Augustine Night Parade. So the Fiesta Day fell during clean hours because it was during the day. We saw a 140% increase on infrastructure cleans during that time. Also, in preparation for that event, we were doing daily leaf collection, and that never stops. So that's a pretty heavy part of what the clean team does, especially this time of the year. We saw increased activity, so we had to adjust our scheduling to make sure that we had enough people out there to handle what we have to handle. We also saw an increase in homelessness. There were no major issues from that, but of course, we have our team continue to engage respectfully and proactively on that. On the safety side of things in February, we had 3 arrests that our team was directly involved with. I believe 2 of them were for trespassing and 1 of them was for, I guess you could say public urination. So that's always a good thing. Also during the St. Augustine Night Parade, we were able to clean up that event fairly quickly. We were able to collect the cardboard trash cans that we use for events, so we can use them in the future for another event. That saves the district money, because we get to reuse those things over again that are really not reusable. And we were able to collect all the trash bags. I think we had everything cleaned up by 7 PM. It was quite impressive. So overall, it was a busy, productive month. A lot of teamwork, effective event support, and continuing our dedication to keeping Ybor safe and clean.
Questions? I just want to say, I think you guys do a great job. So you guys out there early in the morning, during the night, late at night, and I think you guys have been doing a phenomenal job. We've seen a lot of different iterations of the Yes team, and I think this current one is some of the best work I've
I
seen.
actually agree with that. So it'll be 3 years I can't believe I'm saying this. It's been 3 years. I don't know where 3 years went. But it's been 3 years as of September 1, since I've started working here. I have seen the beginning of that and I have seen where we are now, and it is night and day. We've made some really good hiring choices, thank God. That has really paid off. It's a completely different program now.
I totally
And I'm
agree.
proud of the product that we provide.
I am
I really
too.
am.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the report too. Okay, so we're gonna keep it moving because I know we're on time constraints and we've got some important presentations. We're gonna go to Cedric McCray with the TIP CRA CAC budget process.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you again, sir.
Good. Welcome the public comment. I know that we received an email last week related to the budget. And I'm just gonna kind of walk us through some of the changes that took place. So, and it was mentioned during the public comment, we went through a major reorganization at the end of 2023 and starting in 2024, which augmented some of our community advisory committees, Ybor, East Tampa, primarily, and just the makeup that was. So we created some ex officio positions to ensure that there was neighborhood representation and some of the other entities in various CRAs that would have a seat at the table and be represented, their specific area, neighborhood, and demographic or interested group. I've had some conversations with Ms. Thrower related to the budget process. Me coming in as director and I asked her just flat out last week. I said, well, what's the process? And they normally take it up during the course of the CAC meeting. And it's landed on the budget. There may be some recommendation to come from staff and then some input from some of the community advisory committee members. Is that the way that we do it in all CACs? No. One of the suggestions that we were going to bring up, and I'll yield to her to do that once I finish my comments, was to possibly just schedule a meeting for, and the only action item that you all have is to discuss the budget and desires of the respective groups that are here at the table. With the reorganization, ex officio positions were put in place to allow the representatives from those various entities to have input and discussion related to not only the budget or anything, any of the funding requests or items that come before you all for recommendation from members of the CAC. So that is one option. I just heard Mr. DeGeorge mention time constraints. I know that this location is, I believe you have to be out by 7 p.m. Is that right?
Usually tonight it's 5:30.
Okay.
If there's a meeting after us.
Okay,
But,
got it. So we have to talk about that logistically. I also had conversations with Ms. Grove last week just to find out. I said, well, Ybor start time, and she shared with me that it's been 4 o'clock since 1995. So we can gladly adjust that. That may mean, finding an additional location here in Ybor or somewhere in the vicinity. We try to make sure that we hold the community advisory committee meetings, in that respective CRA and within the boundaries. Do we have to? Not necessarily, but if you're living, working, playing here in Ybor City, we want to make sure it's conducive for everyone that is going to be attending the meeting. We'll have to have some more input and discussion from the members of the CAC that are at the table, and we're open to engaging that. I will tell you that we have CAC meetings that start later, but then I also know that we have some business owners that may need to be back at their location by a certain time for an evening rush or what have you. So I think part of the reason why that meeting was at 4 o'clock was to allow for that, the individuals can start their day. And then if they needed to leave by a certain time, 5, 6 o'clock, hopefully the meeting's done and, see you next month. So, Ms. Thoreau, I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to opine, and I'll gladly stick around for any questions or comments that you all may have.
Okay. No, you did a great job of kind of summarizing where we're at. I've thought about this for a while and looking back, because I literally have been here a while. Yeah, it's always started at 4 o'clock. I think at one point, somewhere along the line, we may have addressed or asked about it, but everyone sort of liked that time period. What we can do, I did check on this space. So the way the calendar is working is April's the time where we have our budget discussion, right? So it's April 28th, and I did check this space, and there's no meeting after the April 28th meeting. So we could go later. We do have two groups that want to come forward. Parking was going to come back to address some issues about parking next month. And we also have Jason Jackman with the mobility department to come to talk about sidewalks. So I had two presentations, but what we could do two things. We could still start the meeting at 4, go through our reports, get our presentations, and then at 5 o'clock, move into budget. Okay, that way if neighbors want to be there, anyone wants to come, you could do it that way. Well, you still be one meeting, but we can even open it up for 2 sets of public comments if you want to do it that way. Or we start at 5 o'clock. If you want to do that, we have it from 4 to 7. So it's up to the pleasure of the CAC what you want to do. What's important here is that as a CAC, we need to meet about the budget together. Can't be having meeting over here, meeting over here. That just worked really well. Y'all are appointed, you sign papers, you want to be part of this advisory board. So your job is to vote on the budget collectively. So I'll leave it to discussion, what y'all want to do. But that is April 28th. It's, next month.
Are you looking to take a vote on the budget next April, or are you looking to?
We're going to walk through it. Yeah, we're going to walk
So
through
if you want
it.
something on the budget, we need to talk about it well in advance so that it's not on the line item being voted on.
We're going to go through line, every year we go line by line, and there's certain things that are not movable, like the Yes Team contract. Okay, we've got, sorry guys, we're still in that. We've got the Yes Team for another year. So guess what? That's automatic.
Sure.
We have some policing money that we automatically put aside. There's some wiggle, but then there's those line items that like David was bringing up about sidewalks and those kind of things. So we'll walk through Ybor 1 budget, and then we'll walk through Ybor 2 budget.
So unlike the policing, if maybe there was a worthy discussion of talking about allocating some more to automated, surveillance as opposed to putting an actual physical person sitting in their car on the corner. If there's a more efficient way to do it, when does that discussion happen? So that when you get.
Well, you've already started the discussion now. And what I'd like to do between now and next, when we meet prior to, is get with the captain and say, give us a plan. What does that look like? How much would that be? So, because we don't know, as a group, y'all don't know. I mean, if we're going to do sidewalks, like there is this Tampa Moves plan out there, and there's some sidewalks they have identified as high priority. Right now, we know there are 2 of them in our district. What does that cost? So at least we can start putting money in those categories. I will tell you, you are limited. You don't have all the money in the world. I mean, so you're going to have to make some decisions. But if you want, it's all about setting priorities too. So you want to see certain things, the trees, what have you. We need to start doing that, but I can get some costs ahead of time, okay, on what, I already know a few things. Yes, sir.
And if I could just include, and I think some of you veterans at the table are aware that we, under CRA board direction, 30% of the budget goes towards
To housing.
affordable housing initiatives. And then there's also, and I've talked to the managers about just kind of having a conversation related to the commercial grants and what that looks like. And, how many would you all like to see, within a given time frame during that fiscal year? With 5 grants you think would be a success, with 10, so just kind of walking through and talking about that. And then Ms. Thrower can come to you and say, hey, this is how many grants we did for commercial exterior in FY26, or we have in the hopper. This is how many interiors we did. This is what we've allocated for bricking this phase. This is what we have for pavement or asphalt in a specific area. This is what we can do for sidewalks. We have this amount of money. So all of that would kind of be flushed out during the course of that meeting.
I think given the public comment at the beginning, and since we don't have to worry about the cutoff on the 28th, I think 5 to 7 would make a whole lot of sense
That's
to me.
perfectly fine. Does that work?
Get the other business stuff.
Can we build this off of the critical dates? So like April 28th, I'm trying to understand final budget being due to be presented to the CRA. Is that April 28th, or what?
No, it won't go to the board formally. And we just received an email I think that, I think we have to have our information in at the end of May.
Okay.
And then there's some back and forth. And then it will go to the board in that, normally it's the June, July timeframe for discussion. And then they will adopt the budget at the CRA board meeting, and then it goes to them as the city council with the entire budget for the city.
So my recommendation is like, we've gotten so much feedback from the neighborhood as a result of kind of saying like, hey, you know, public voice should be heard, that I think we're not even dreaming big enough. I understand we have limited funds, but there's people who are just like, we want to start working on a greenway along the CSX right away. We want to, you know, we want pedestrian lighting, or, you know, it could be a dozen different things. And I don't think we're going to be able to even intake that data on one meeting, April 28th. I feel like there has to be another net thrown out there that's like, you know, an idea session or a visioning session or something
Well,
like that.
can I tag on to that? My question is, so we also voting on the 28th on that? So that.
We're gonna walk through the.
I know,
budget.
we'll walk through it.
Start
Are we
working on
voting?
the pots,
When are
right?
we voting? That's.
You're gonna vote then and you.
That's not enough time to review that and have that community input. That's the issue. Is there is anybody open to an idea of having another meeting between that meeting and May when they need their deadline? So we spend that entire meeting kind of taking information from the public, going over that line by line. And then we vote after what decisions are
What
made.
happened between April 28th and that potential meeting? Good question. I'm not sure
Historically,
who's been
yeah.
working on it,
Yeah.
who's doing.
Good question. That's, don't know either.
So what I would suggest is this, why don't we do this? Beforehand, 2 weeks before, I'm gonna start getting the CAC members the budget, so you can look at what we have to work with, okay? So you'll see kind of a draft of where we have like obligations already and where we have the wiggle room, which is usually in district promotion. So all of you are meeting with groups. You all represent ex officio groups. I don't know when your meetings are, but you can just let me know. And if you can go to your meetings and ask, what are your priorities? Doesn't have to be the exact dollar amount. Just give me your priorities. And then as we meet on the 28th, at least we start creating those line items of the priorities. Okay, let's start there. Then would that work?
I disagree. I keep coming back to what we used to do is, and I'm not saying it has to be at the Italian club, but everyone was in the big room and we had all the easels out and we all wrote down our ideas, and you're not limiting it to one person on an ex officio seat. That's too tight of a filter. We have to hear from people in the neighborhood who are going to show up to this meeting and maybe don't even show up to neighborhood association meetings. And that doesn't mean they don't get to participate, but I'm just saying, when you have that meeting at the Italian club was not a CAC formal meeting. It was just a public gathering to talk about ideas. I think that's where we should be, just speaking for myself.
So was that the YCDC?
It was
That
a
was
YCDC, and it's before we did resident worker
Yeah, that's
surveys and things like that.
I get it, but it's kind of like YCDC, CAC. I mean, it's a different name, it's a different entity, but I think the mission is aligned, I would think.
And that's why we have the ex officio seats at the table to serve as that conduit with the neighborhood association and the respective groups.
I get that logic, but respectfully, I think that's putting too fine of a point on public interaction. I think having people come in, like I said, I think we're dreaming too small. I think if you're relying on my seat as Hinka to encapsulate everything that the 1,000 residents that live over here in CRA2, I think that's thinking too small.
Well,
But
if you schedule a public meeting, does it matter who called a public meeting? So if you like the Italian club, maybe people said, let's get everything started at the Italian club and make it for the purpose of creating the top of fun. Fun ideas.
Do it as one equal.
yeah,
Get all the groups together.
Yeah.
Anyone cares who can be meeting,
Right.
as long as the word gets out, that's what the purpose is.
But the point is we would need that support. We would need that information from the city.
And
Prepare.
then we also have to keep in mind that, we're still governed by sunshine and those the orientation. So it's
If it's not a CRA called meeting, it's a meeting where community said, let's get together to talk about budget. Is that, that doesn't.
But if we're discussing budget issues outside of seriously together, that's a violation. of
conversations, yes.
That's what it's-
So you just have to intake. You have to intake
Yeah.
information.
What do people want?
Discuss things.
There you
You're asking what people want.
we're not talking about specifics of the budget.
Yeah,
We're
you're
just talking
more
about
than what people are asking.
That's not fiction.
Would it not be something like farmer's market or something? Feeding them?
So you mean like having a parking lot?
It has policy initiatives as opposed to.
Weekend for the markets and for the events, why don't you just do a pop-up table and ask them while they're walking by, and then it's informal and you're not breaking. I mean, I sign a lot of NDAs for my business, for what I do for a living, so violating anything isn't, but if you, it's cold call, you just talk and ask. Because unfortunately, you guys are you guys do have a deadline. You do have a timeline you need to follow, and you don't have a lot of time left. So, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't live here, but I'm more than happy to.
So
You guys need volunteers?
On that note, we do a resident and worker survey. We do that every 2 years. We have information in that, which is a public survey that was done. And we can make that available. We usually rely on it. It's actually helped with several priorities that have come out of, that have transitioned, been in the budget.
Yeah.
So that's one opportunity we've done.
We used to go to the same meeting and talk about the tag.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter where it is. I have no allegiance to the tag club.
Yeah.
It just needs to be a public visioning session to talk about things. It doesn't have to be about specific budget line items or anything. It's just kind of like, hey, what would you like to see more?
No, I get your
Something
point,
like that.
but we're running out of.
So we are looking.
Done in January.
We are doing a community redevelopment plan update and we have community engagement that's part of that. Just so you'll know, we cannot fund everything. It's got to be in the plan. If it's not in the plan, not in the budget, not consistent with the state, we can't even consider
I
it.
understand that, but I've been talking about stormwater for the past 3 years, and it's always like, we don't have the money to do it. We don't have the money to do it. And yet we have millions of dollars to put on bricks on 7th Avenue. That's really tough for residents to swallow.
We don't have the money to do the stormwater. But we have $700,000 to do two things of bricks. That's just the way it worked out. I mean, we may one day have the money for Ybor too, but
That's just the way it worked out for taxpayers who were paying.
So I will.
but that problem, that's not, that solution is
Right.
much bigger than the.
Collection on the
Ybor
tip
CRA.
for Ybor 1 and Ybor 2.
I understand.
Is at a certain amount. We would have to partner with mobility, which brings
Right,
in
stormwater.
stormwater that brings in a larger conversation. And then, you know, the CRA or Ybor CRA was able to subsidize a portion of the work to be done.
I understand.
And that is something that budgetarily you all may be able to do.
My point is that
Discussed.
Brittany and I have been trying to get this stormwater project on, like trying to literally get
Keep
it
it on-
onto the
keep it on
report
the
just to
plans.
talk about it. And it's just like, we don't have money to do it.
Well, the problem is it's a bigger project than the CRA. It's much bigger. We could do 2 blocks and it's got to go all the way down to the harbor. So that it has to be part of the CIP. And y'all remember that 2 meetings ago, I said, let's put some little money there. And y'all said, no, let's don't do that because we want it to be part of the CIP. So we definitely want to have this conversation again, but it's tied to a bigger project that's outside of our realm.
Has stormwater been invited to
Yeah, they did the study that we
Okay.
funded, yes, and we could absolutely can ask them to come back and tell us where they're at with, the stormwater project and when is it going to happen?
Well, it's just one of those, I mean, I was one of those who was like, it needs to be a city council. They need to just get it done is the issue, but what you're pointing out is the idea that, we needed to bring it in, and if the pittance we did have put on bricks would have been enough to initiate the city to move forward, but we didn't have that conversation.
We can have it now.
So you have stormwater presentation.
No, I want another presentation. I want a budget discussion instead, a budget discussion on, would just a pittance of our budget be enough for you to initiate a capital project in the millions to remedy this situation? Would this little piece of the pie that we could give you be enough initiative for that to move forward? Otherwise,
For a lot of these projects, it's a design exercise that has to happen before anything gets built or done. And if we can help sponsor that, or like you said, just get it going, we're happy to do that. But if we don't have these discussions, then we're never going to get there.
yeah, we have a consultant and when you do the capital project.
So I'm hearing stormwater is
It's a long list. It's stormwater, it's sidewalks, trees, pedestrian crossings, like it's a lot of stuff. But until we have that room of people, what I'm seeing is that we take the old budget from last year and we tweak it a little bit, and then we push it into the next year.
Well, you can always prioritize projects. And what I can do, I can invite those departments to be here. I know the sidewalk folks want to come, which is great. So they could give us some real costs on that. I know parking wants to come. There's some issues there. I can invite stormwater back. Do you want them at the next meeting so we can?
No.
No, we have a budget meeting.
Well, we have a budget meeting, but we're talking about cost. Y'all are trying to get,
It would be helpful for sidewalks, for example, to present information. They just come and say that these are the sidewalks that we have, you know, but they were able to do you used a very fancy word, when we talked about the new added, parking along the Bush Capos.
chicane,
Yeah.
chicane.
They added that really fast.
They did.
They did. That was added, all those parking spots were added, and they basically just told us that this is happening. So, which is fine. But I feel like those are the things that we would like to. Sorry, I lost my train.
Maybe understand how they prioritize.
Yes.
Which projects
Yeah.
they're choosing would help
So
you
if
guys go,
So
sidewalk,
I
I do this. Right.
They would just, I don't know what the presentation would have.
So would it be fair if we, Ms. Monroe and I, work with those various departments to see if we can get some cost estimates to bring back to you all?
Yes.
In preparation and making sure that you have the budget and that information in advance,
Yes.
well in advance, 2-3 weeks. Ms. Monroe?
Yeah,
I-
yeah,
that's what you-
absolutely. You
Um,
can start looking.
So that way you can kind of start to wrap your minds around it and articulate to whoever your respective interested groups and parties are, what that cost may be. And then we can have that conversation at the budget workshop about what that looks like, or we're gonna have to tier it. You know, we can do this in a phase, what that looks like, to your point about the design build process. So yeah, we can gladly have that conversation. We'll try to get as much as we can. But I'm hearing trees, I'm hearing sidewalks, and I'm hearing stormwater. As the and safety.
I guess I'm still concerned or confused. Where are we on any type of real public?
So if we need to have a larger conversation, I mean, related to. And I'm thinking it sounds like you're saying public engagement as opposed to just the budget itself. Right. Then we can work to hold something in the future to do so.
Between now and the 20th.
That would be tough. That would be tough.
We could do a chicane in a heartbeat.
I think the point is that, you know, we've been doing the resident worker studies, so like, we gotta pull information from what we have. And from all of our grades and from all of our representative organizations and just go with that.
Yeah, and what we can do, we always have the first part of the meeting with all the reports. Do y'all want to not have the reports next time and focus a little bit more time on the budget? Or do you still want to have the community policing reports?
I mean, honestly, I think we're changing the tire while the car's still moving. It's like, that might be a good idea, but I don't even know if
Give more
that's long
time.
enough. Yeah.
Can you send us an email with the details of the budget?
Mhm.
Can you add in there, I mean, not just the title of the budget line, because a lot of times you have ideas about what goes in each of those, like there's bullets kind of that fall underneath those.
I work from a kind of a template that I can't change too much, but
No,
I
it's
could
usually
definitely
like
give
when
some
we ask, like, well,
editorial.
what about, where would we get sidewalks? And you go, oh, it would go under here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That might help with some of the questions that we have, and then maybe that would. We would have some. More information better on that.
I'd advocate for keeping at least the police.
Do y'all want to keep it? And we're
Yeah,
gonna
let's use
start
that.
at 5 o'clock now? Is that good?
Are we starting at 5 or?
Well, y'all need to give me a motion what you want to do.
I thought this meeting started at 4, and you're gonna start budget.
We could totally do it that way.
Is that?
We could have regular meeting at 4 o'clock, but we do not talk about the budget until 5 o'clock, so that anyone that
And then
wants
we
to
have from
come,
5 to 7 to just talk about budget.
just budget. Yeah, we'll just have this dedicated time, and you could, as the chair, open it up for 2 public comments if you like.
And
In case someone
with
doesn't
2
get-
weeks of us getting the budget before that
Right.
meeting.
Right.
You may want to say 5:30.
Well, okay, it's up to y'all. Y'all still want to start at 4 o'clock? We're just gonna have a longer meeting, basically.
A 3-hour meeting.
You got the reports, you don't have like a presentation, which is typically a half hour.
Well, they come and there's that, back and forth. And I don't want y'all to get shortchanged on that because there seems to be always something that comes up. Parking wanted to be here tonight. They definitely want to come next month because they're following up on some of the issues that were brought up last month. So, okay, that's, I'll let them know.
So some of those, if we wanted to maximize our time, both the police report, the homeless report, the parking report, all of that could just be, they could give us a high level summary bullet. We could just read through it ourselves, and then focus the entire meeting on what we want to go through.
You want me to tell each of them just 3 minutes? As they come, and I mean, you get the reports ahead of time, so as long as they send them to me.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, you don't want them saying, do they need to be here at all?
Well, that's the question, y'all tell me.
I know, we have questions, I understand that. yeah.
Personally, I think having the police report to us, if there's an accountability.
Yeah.
For 15 minutes of our time, I think it's definitely, and frankly, code enforcement as well.
Well, I agree, but also I'm just saying, we're talking about one meeting, right? So this is one instance where we're trying to.
Getting them back here.
Well, that's all I was gonna say. I think once you tell them they don't have to be here for 1 month, then the following month. It's
That's the
absolute truth.
It is.
I'll
All right.
tell you what, I'll tell them to be, we'll have a
Concise.
budget meeting, so
Right.
high level stuff. How's that sound? But yeah, you're right.
All right, so somebody put together a motion.
I move that we have the next meeting in April with the first hour allocated to the normal Ybor CAC agenda with limitations as to time such that the meeting can be conducted in an hour efficiently, and that we then allocate the balance from 5 till 7, 2 hours for the budget, with everyone receiving the budget 2 weeks ahead of time so they can digest it before the meeting occurs.
Well said.
Yeah. All right, right there.
I'm old, but I.
Second is, all in favor? Anyone opposed? No discussion? Motion passes.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you, Cedric.
My pleasure.
All right, on to the next presentation, the CRA Housing Grant Program Update, P Parks Community Development Coordinator. Thank you. Pete.
All right, greetings. I'll make this as quick as possible, but if no one knows me, my name is B Parks. I am the Housing CRA Development Coordinator. That's my, I guess, CRA Coordinator, that's my title. And I oversee all of the 9 CRA's budget for affordable housing. One of the largest just north of Ybor, but I oversee all of those initiatives. Some of this information will be something that I presented to the board. So we had a special workshop March 6th, where that's all we talked about was affordable housing. And then the second half was the commercial side, which went over what type of housing programs each community wanted to see. And then it also went over the commercial, what kind of grants you wanted to see in that area. So some of this information in the back is repetitive, but I brought all of this forward today. So just to recap on the 5 initiatives that were set from the community. So this information was collected from surveys, resident surveys, big housing kind of report that they did several years back, and digested all that information. And then 5 initiatives were brought up from all of that community collection. Okay. So the first 2 is our direct services to current owner occupied units, and also potential people who want to purchase within our CRAs. The first one is our rehab program, which we give up to $100,000 for individuals to make repairs to their home, which includes electrical, plumbing, HVAC upgrades, and all of that good stuff. We'll bring them up to code. And we also have a down payment assistance program where we provide up to $50,000 worth of assistance for first-time home buyers, or you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years can purchase. And that's within the CRA areas. And then the last the last three, these two are specific to development. So the infill development program is a program where we own lots, and through a request for proposal, we push out to the developer community for them to build on that lot. So that's pretty much the infill development program. And then the unit creation and conversion is that's a conversation that if you've been following the board, which I'm sure you have, has been a topic of conversation for several months about how we give developers subsidy to build attainable housing. And this is not just big time developers. These are individuals that might own a property within the CRA and is willing to now build or convert their units over to attainable housing and, have income restrictions and affordability period added to that. And then acquisition is basically the CRA acquiring property. We do this almost on a weekly basis in our shop. We work with real estate to try to identify some development opportunities in the community. And we also we didn't really broadcast it openly yet, but are looking to kind of communicate with the community about, hey, if you wish to sell maybe your land and want to convert over, please contact the city to provide attainable housing. So there's different ways that it fits in within the community. So moving forward to Ybor's budget. So this was just a quick synopsis of what that 30% allocation looked like within the areas. This actually has been something that's really hard to find any available land in Ybor. And also for the rehab and down payment, we haven't had that much movement when it comes to anybody that's wishing to rehab their homes. And we've been boots on the ground looking at different opportunities. So again, it hasn't been very active in Ybor. But we are going to look at having a outreach. Well, we are May 22nd. We were doing 2, but Memorial Day is on the 25th this year. So it cut into our Saturday plan that we have for May 23rd, but we're going to do May 22nd for Ybor. We're looking to have it here from like a 9 to 3 event, where it's open to the public. They just come in within that time where we help them fill out the application for the rehab program. And in addition to that, just talk about our down payment assistance program from anybody that wishes to purchase in the area.
Is this CRA 1 and 2 combined?
Yes. So again, in that opportunity, we're doing outreach directly here. We wish it was on a Saturday as well, but due to the holiday, I'm afraid a lot of people are not going to come to that Saturday event. So we will have to postpone that for another time. But right now we have Friday, May 22nd here from 9 to 3. And I'll have Brenda send out flyers once they're produced, because we're going now on outreach season. So as we move forward, these are the 3 what I call priorities, challenges, and recommendations, right? And you have this copy for your record. So priorities, as we know, governed by Chapter 163, affordable housing is something that needs to happen in each one of the CRAs, okay? So it's not something that you can erase or not contribute to. You could always have that budget conversation of motioning to contribute less to the CRA board, because I know you have other needs. But let me try to find some opportunity first prior to that conversation, but I'm very transparent. And I know that there's a lot of needs besides housing, but we have to now kind of create those needs, right? So create those opportunities. So priorities is create affordable housing opportunities while preserving historic housing, supporting compatible development that maintains the historic character of Ybor City while expanding workforce and affordable housing options. So some of the challenges that we have, which is notable, is limited land availability and high market costs combined with historic preservation requirements reduce the feasibility for new affordable housing development. And it also kind of restricts how we could rehab these houses as well. We already kind of had a situation that we couldn't move forward with a project because of the historic requirements that were added, which lift up the cost more than 100,000 that we could provide. So it is some type of challenges with that. But my recommendation is to release a housing funding cycle at FY 27 to identify projects and support affordable housing opportunities, including historic rehab and adaptive reuse of existing residential services. So structures. So what do I mean by that? Has anyone been following the unit creation and conversion conversation with the CRA board? I know you have that. You have too? All right, so before it was something that just happened when a developer wanted to just come fill out an application and then we present the development and project in front of the CAC. They'll recommend based off of us already doing our due diligence. We look to make sure that the lot was, they have site control, they have some concepts, they got their pro forma. We do all of that evaluation and then we just bring it to the CAC, have them present, and then they yay or nay or recommend a counter offer. And then that's when we go ahead and take it to the board, and the board then they're the final call, right? Yes or no. So that's how it's been going, because we've already did several unit creation and conversion projects for the Tampa CRA. However, through those kind of applications, it came up some better recommendations to do through funding cycles. So this is something that we'll have 2 funding cycles per year, depending on the money that we have in our budget. There'll be a threshold review and scoring criteria. And then, of course, there'll be a 5-member selection committee. So out of that 5-member selection committee, there's going to be 2 members that are going to be representation of the CAC. So 2 of the members will be, again, it'll be a motion, a vote within you all to say, hey, I want to elect the chair and I want to elect someone that knows about development to be representation of that selection committee. So again, there'll be the representation for the community as it relates to whether that project will be feasible for that area. So again, the funding cycles, they're going to be split between 2 types of funding cycles. The first one, they're more for the smaller developers. These are individual property owners as well. I emphasize that because on the east side, there's property owners that are taking advantage of this program right now. So their primary funding track supports property owners and small developers. And the final plan is being presented to the CRA board in June, which will have a percentage of the pre-development funding. So in some cases, some of these individuals might not have the capacity to have the concepts and design and concepts brought up prior to funding the development. Again, this is made for you to create these opportunities in the area for people who are here homegrown, okay? So the larger developer cycle will be for 20 units and plus. So I'm looking for maybe an FY 27 July release for that. Related to this one will be gap financing for larger projects. Underwriting will be required for this, and then no pre-development funds. So for larger scale developers, we're not given any assistance to design your concept. You should have some skin in the game to do that. So again, the funding cycle determination is funding cycles and amounts will be based on the CRA specific market conditions and available funding. So the budget and then actually what the market is requiring to do any type of new construction in the area, sales price and all of that. So it is driven by market, and it also is driven if we have the availability in our budget to put out a funding cycle for people to apply. Okay. So, some of the threshold review and scoring criteria is, of course, we make sure that is within the CRA location. We have site control, we review zoning, we look at their budget, and we identify the other funding sources in order to make their project complete. Conditional award is then given, applied to small and large projects, and they have up to 6 months to secure financing. So what does this mean? Once we look at their preliminary budget and we see that they are waiting on maybe another award letter from Hillsborough County or a smaller lender that's giving a commitment letter for a construction to perm type of product. So we will provide them some time because right now it is taking some time for these individuals through housing development. It's getting harder and harder to produce affordable housing. So it's taking longer and longer to kind of underwrite the deals. So we are giving them that time to secure it. After that, we're going to have to just let it go and put the money back in the pot to put out another funding cycle. So next step, after all of this is completed, is that we go into a development agreement executed after financing is secured. And all of these projects will have a 50-year affordability period. So it's meant to be affordable for 50 years. So there's going to be monitoring involved with it where they'll screen and make sure that if any of these projects, of course, most of them are going to be rental projects, that those individuals are going to be income qualified on a yearly basis to make sure that they're still under the income to rent out that unit. For some home ownership projects that we've had, we just finished approving one for West Tampa with Domain Homes. How that affordability period works with them is that whoever that buyer resells that property for will have to also be income qualified. So we'll notify the city. Again, it's holding land for affordable housing for years ago come. And of course, as you know, income increases on a yearly basis. So this is the scoring criteria that 5-member selection committee will see. Again, it's just giving some of the points aligned with the CRP is one of the top points we have. Affordability letter levels, as you know, based off analysis in the area, the missing middle is a big topic of conversation, being that 80% AMI to 120 is hard to make housing for folks in that range. And then completely all of the rental projects that we try to help is that 80% to below. But if you ask me, I believe in mixed income because that's how you will make the economy grow. You need all type of incomes in the area. So that ranges from smaller to large income. So then we'll look at the developer experience, the financial feasibility, project schedule, characteristics, proximity to transportation, and the inclusion of any community retail spaces, green space, or any public improvements that the developer can do with that project. I already kind of went over this, but the 5-member selection committee will consist of 2 CAC members, 1 CRA staff member, a housing staff member, and then we'll add another subject matter expert that will know how to analyze the deal. And then, of course, the role of that selection committee is to review and score the applications and then make their recommendation to the CRA board for them to approve or disapprove. This is just basically just a image of the complete process. So you can kind of just gauge here, the selection committee right there, the conditional approval, and then what's next. And again, I want to be adamant that funding cycles and amounts will be based off of market conditions and also what's available in that budget. So this was a discussion that I had with the CRA board because we're always talking about what income should we service. So for the city did a housing needs assessment, a actual entire city housing needs assessment, where they identified that 80% and below is the critical need for rental, right? So that's where we can say the rental housing income limits will be better used at, like, let's look at projects that help with that gauge. Now, with homeownership, we looked at a 80% to 140% is the max, but it's going to be at that 80 to 120%, because that's actually for individuals who have some type of savings, has the credit to purchase a house, and also is able to sustain the house for emergency savings. So you'll see that within that 80% AMI to that 120% AMI. The 140 that's the max. I also have to look at creating opportunities in the channel and downtown, and those kind of now kick into like the workforce housing above moderate. But believe it or not, they still don't have the 10, 20,000 in order to buy a house. So we had our first down payment assistance come out of channel as well. So that's pretty much, I know I threw a lot at you all tonight. Any questions that you have so far? Brenda has my contact, but any questions about any plans? I just want to emphasize on, okay, before okay, so I just want to reiterate that when the fiscal, so I go and present in front of the board the final presentation, which means how the unit creation application is going to look, the scoring criteria, and the policy, right, for residential. I just want to remind everyone there was never a housing section for the CRA until just 2023. It took time to develop. It took time to figure out the programs that's going to work for all of the CRAs, not just the city, but specifically the CRAs. So I'll preface with that. But secondly, when that's passed in June, I'm hoping for them to say approved me. You can just go ahead. I want to kick off a funding cycle for Ybor in July and August. So what does that mean? It'll be a notification out to the community that says that we have X amount of dollars available to build new, convert over apartment units. This is the area median income. This is what we're looking at. And now developers, property owners, individuals who are in the business pitch to us at that point. Pitch to us between our constraints, our affordability caps, our restrictions, and what the market and market conditions will allow you, and then we'll have that conversation. I've been already approached by 2 local developers here, so we're in conversation about some new housing in Ybor. But once I release that funding cycle, it's like open door for the developers to come in. And I'm an expert, but I don't pride to be myself. I'm not going to say I'm fully an expert. I need the partnership of developers who do this day in and day out. I write policy to make sure that it's possible. So I just want to say that will kind of gauge how we could look at these dollars moving forward. Because if we're going to give it all we got right now, meaning let's do this outreach, let's put the funding cycle, let's see what's out there, let's give it some time to see what's out there, then you'll know by next year for your FY28 whether you need to reduce affordable housing and focus on other areas. I'm fully transparent on it. I'm not just trying to tie up your butt. Okay? Okay?
My other question was, I don't know, have you talked to Habitat for Humanity?
Yes.
Are you the program where the sales tax goes, like the God's Marts are funding a bunch of houses from their sales tax? It's almost like the sales tax pays for the houses, and there's a little gap. And it seems like that might be a perfect thing to work with. The guy's name is Richard and the president's Tina.
Okay.
Happy to introduce you.
I know him.
You know them?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't this be a perfect thing to work on with them?
I could gauge, depends on what type of product they can produce for
They can do
Ybor.
multifamily and they can do single family homes.
Yeah.
They sell them, they take back the mortgage, their default rate's only like 3%. I believe it's.
And it's not part of a community land trust? Because we're not,
It's not.
that's not something that is highly,
Habitat, and they sell the mortgage, they can sell the mortgage.
Yeah, I know.
For CRA credit.
All right, well, I'll have a conversation with Tina about it and see, we work with them more on the rehab side. We're about to team up to do some, rehab of some houses in the East Tampa. But I'll see how that works
We're doing
and,
4 houses, just like 24th.
Yes. we're
Okay.
here in East Ybor, 4 houses.
okay. I'll speak with Tina about it.
Any other questions or comments?
Question, what's the total amount that we now have stockpiled for affordable housing?
I knew you were gonna ask that, and I actually calculated it. So in Ybor 1, this is total. This includes down payment assistance, any of the programs, plus unit creation. It's $4,663,997. That's Ybor 1, I'm giving you to the dollar. And Ybor 2, you have $2,184,290.
And how many units have we created to date?
None.
Zero.
It was there.
You had 400,000 in that position.
Mhm.
What, so we had 400,000 where, which side?
No, that's just average. I mean, I can't bring you, is looking at,
So there was no land acquisition in CRA 1 or 2.
We've looked at a property. but
we looked, but
it-
now, hold on, I have to see, that's probably, my apology, I think that's a typo.
They came from the chart.
Yeah, I think, that's what I had to change before I came here, so I apologize. But no acquisition, so you can scratch that out. We have, looked at different possibilities for acquisition, so now we're just focusing on the unit creation to partner with developers who already own the land.
And just so you know, right now, CRA board is scheduled to take another 30% of the budget and keep adding to this number at this time.
You said something about making a recommendation that they don't do that. Is that something we could make a motion to make a recommendation that they, I think we'll listen to us?
Yeah.
So I will,
Recommendation that they don't do that,
you could, so I would say that,
just this year, since they're at $6 million.
no, I think they're moved, I don't know how far we are to recommend. I mean, you could always recommend what you could always recommend. However, I know, and I was hoping that Ybor was more present in March 6th discussion, but the board is, they're gonna move forward with having funding cycles. So they're gonna wanna give it a shot to see what comes into the area. Rather than having a conversation about reallocation of 30%, but it's not out the window about reallocation of 30%.
Is it our job to make suggestions that we think would be beneficial to the community?
I mean, this was a top-down decision on the 30%, which has been, what, Director Gray, 3-4 years now?
Yeah.
23 of
It's
these.
2023. Now,
That was their decision, yeah. So-
We made all kinds of
Yeah.
recommendations and suggestions, and they went in one ear and out the other.
But I will just add, we're mandated by chapter 163 to create affordable housing,
It's not mandated to do 30%, right?
but not mandated for
It's
30%.
5%. This maybe be a suggestion that would be responsible for us to make to reduce it to 5% until they spend the 6 months they've already got. I'm just asking, I'm not trying.
I can't advise you on that, but I would say that if you, and you drove around the community, how much you think it takes to rehab a house?
Oh, no doubt.
No, let's talk, if you wanna talk about numbers, how much you think it takes to rehab the house? How much you think is to buy down a sales price of $450? That's direct.
It depends on the community, right? I mean, East Tampa,
I'm public, but in Ybor, you have a unique challenge of the barrio and all the things. You have, if you're gonna have home people who really need the money and people who really need the thing, they need support through the whole process. As a developer, we need support for the things, but as a homeowner, you have to handhold them. And it does behoove you to handhold them because they'll make your family better, because you have a lot of disrepair around them. But they're lost. They don't even know where to start, which they start with the barrio. And you know how that goes.
as a developer, do you think that this is a program that could be used to create affordable housing within this CRA?
You're gonna have to go to the developers directly and get on
That's what we're
their
doing.
faces. We don't do residential development, but until you actually go and handhold and say, here, here's this sparkly thing. And it's complicated. You know, we've checked into CRA grants and it adds a whole other layer and time and money for us just to even get them. So I think if you really want this to work, you're gonna have to like go find the people and really hold their hands and hold the process.
So what you gonna do?
That's what my intention is to do for all 9 of them. It's to go, and when I announce that there's a funding opportunity, that's when we do have that conversation, and we have what is called like a proposal meeting where we'll release the funds, and then that's when the developer can come and ask all the questions.
Or the GCs.
Yes,
Or
the
who wants the money, who can partner with the people.
Yeah, so it's mainly the developers come, but I want to talk to the people who are actually going to make it happen, which is mainly the GCs, about the cost, so they can kind of start.
I have a question. I need to get your name.
Haley with Barber Investment.
Thank, oh, Haley. Thank you. All right.
My question is, because we talk about strategic acquisitions being where we are buying land to build affordable housing. What about buying existing homes? That's one of the things we have a lot of in East Ybor is standing homes that are contributing, that need to be rehabbed, that are sitting vacant for years and years and years and years.
Vacant. So we have, through the rehab program, it's 3 things. It's owner, it can help owner occupied, it can help landlord who is currently renting to a low to moderate income tenant, or it can help a vacant property that's going to rent to a low to moderate income tenant. When it comes down to, it has to be a restricted covenant that's now linked to that land. So that is a possibility, but that owner has to apply. Now,
They
if
apply to sell to the city, that's what I'm saying.
Well, no, they don't.
Sometimes
We can
strategic
approach,
acquisitions, though.
we can approach them, but I don't know if that's something that, I mean, for the builder I used to work for, that's something we did. We sent out a mailer, we did all that outreach to make sure, do you want to sell your house? Do you want to sell your house? In the city, I don't think it's frowned upon for us to do that, to go out and force people to sell their homes. I just want to.
Forcing them, it's offering to
will
purchase their
sell,
home
yeah.
if it's sitting there boarded up. And
You're
vacant.
right, but in addition to that, when the city comes now, it's triple the price. It's,
Oh, well, we've got how many millions?
but how
And
much?
if we want to create affordable housing in our
Yeah, but
community.
how much would you spend just if we're having a dialogue?
Right, yeah.
If single family, I know that the city is coming. My house is only worth 150. I'm gonna say, you have to give me 300, 350 for 100 for this house. And how many houses can we do with $1 million? Meaning, how much are we gonna buy and then we're gonna have to rehab it? So now you're gonna have to now put in the rehab costs, which then goes into the historic. So it's different factors.
The different factor is the fact that we don't have the land and or the ability to develop here. Even if we're under this mandate to spend this 30% of the budget here, we might be able to get some developers to come in and develop some undeveloped larger parcels that are going to be multifamily, but there's a whole lot of single family stuff that could be developed, including stuff that's existing historic houses. So maybe it's simply a unique use case and it may be a greater amount of a budget. It may kind of stand out as being unusual that we would spend that much, but if it creates affordable houses and actually also then brings historic structures, possibly contributing structures, back up to the quality that they should be.
So no, I get, I'll put that into consideration to see how we can work and the city will approve that. And in addition to that, how we can resell it for an amount that it's not going to make it harder for us to purchase versus what we have to resell it for. Because men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So it has to have an effect. If it's a cluster of houses that we can knock down and now we can do a multifamily rental, all of that, we can work through that. If it's ones or twos, then now we have to go, she said the famous word, barrio Latino, and figure out all of those restrictions that they have So thank you for that. I'm gonna look at that.
Community.
No, I'm gonna look at that. But we're gonna start off with the unit creation part of it, which someone can pitch that. If, this is what I'm saying, the owner of those houses can pitch like, hey, I want 4 of these houses we have, can you give me X amount of dollars? That could be done through the unit creation, because we're now converting that to affordable housing. So it's 2 parts to unit creation and conversion. Is the creation of a brand new unit, or is a conversion of an existing unit or dwelling into affordable housing by receiving a subsidy? So I think it could be done through
So if you're
that
doing a
program.
single family home, what can you rent it for under this program?
So it is depending on income. So for 80%, you could, the max you can rent it for is 1,800.
You're gonna spend a lot of money for a house here. You're gonna spend a lot of money to rehab it. You're only gonna be able to rent it for $1,800.
That leads to my question. What's the affordability, restriction for single family versus, say, a building or something like that? Is everything 50 years?
Yeah, so everything is 50.
That stick is too big for too small of a carrot. Like, I don't know anyone who would sign up for that deal.
Out here,
Yeah.
they are
Where?
But here,
north.
North.
So again, we're going to look, but to your point, the funding, unit creation and conversion has its restrictions, but let's try it out. Because there are people that are proposing deals that I've never heard of, and we're making it work. So that's why I'm saying, like, we could look at, we could talk about this all day, but once we release a funding cycle, we now get the developers and contractors in the room. We say, these are our restrictions. This is what you have to deal with. You pitch us the different projects that fall under this. And then after that, it is what it is.
As a Tampa native, I like to have an easy hack, and it's what would Orlando do? Because they typically are light years ahead of what we're doing.
We're actually like years ahead of this on them.
They don't have a National Historic Landmark District.
I'm not talking about, I'm talking about unit creation.
Yes.
And they have a different spectrum of affordability, because 50 years of affordability sounds great. But I don't know if it's realistic on all scales of housing, all the way down to single family. So I think Orlando has got way shorter thresholds for single family unit creation. So I would just recommend maybe that.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Bea.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
One last question is, so the current rehabilitation grant program is not open.
It is open.
On the website, it says it is not.
That's for housing and community development department. Thank you for bringing that up. Ours is open. You can route them to come directly to me through Brenda, or you could route them to, now I'm gonna give you the name of our individual. And I do apologize because that we do share, I already know that.
Yeah, because it says that it's not.
In your packet,
That's why I was hoping that.
no, in the packet, I provided the housing grants again. They're in the packet, okay? So, yeah, I'm sorry. That's
So that is,
confusing.
that
They're
housing we
open.
have in
Yes,
renovation
they're
for
open.
HCD, which is housing and community development department. But, ours is open for Ybor, because again, we're Ybor.
The last 2 pages.
So let me give you our people's name, so you can find the.
Yes, please.
Her name is Nikki Thomas.
And I
They
think.
go on our website.
Is that, Carolyn, they're going to the city site, so we have, and not the CRA one.
But
All right.
813.
So when you click on CRA housing, it's housing community development. And so it does create some confusion. Now, again, this is a broader conversation that I know that board member Carlton has brought up about the CRA having a much more separate website or web portal, because that communication does need to be streamlined. You know, that pointing and stuff, things need to be done, because I mean, like, even when you look at some of the stuff, a lot of the images, some of the stuff is outdated. Again, I know I do this for a living with y'all, but you know, even as somebody who, again, is in it day in, day out, I at times have to bookmark things to make sure that I can find it again. And that's not I think a great thing to say. But I do want to put it out there. And so, you know, these are good things to note, though, for these conversations come up, because I think it's a necessity.
you know, I think moving forward to increase transparency to ensure that people are going to the right source of information, especially if people are going to Google stuff and stuff like that is going to pop up in that AI, you know, auto generation content, and they're going to be like, oh no, they're not going to click further. That friction, we see that time and time again as being a huge issue. So again, Carolyn, I think you bring that up. And I'll get off my soapbox.
All right, any other comments? All right, so item 6, the reports, there's no action there. Do you have anything to add? Nothing.
No.
Item 7, new business.
Going back to the report, I never, we talked about the sidewalk gap report.
Yes, and I talked to Mobility and Jake, that's what I told you, I'll send you the website of the Tampa News report, and he was gonna come to our next meeting to share how that all works, the whole survey and what they've done on that. It's a very large document.
So if I just
And-
search Tampa moves.
Yeah, I'll send it to y'all tomorrow, okay? He sent me a link and y'all can see exactly, you can see what's been identified as high priority in Ybor. And of course, it's across the entire city, so, but anyway, I'll send it to you.
Any new business? All right, we see our announcements here. The next CRA board meeting is Thursday, April 9th at 9 a.m. And we already know our next CAC meeting will be a long one. It'll be 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. here on the 28th. And this meeting is officially adjourned.
Rich?
Yeah.
That's another meeting. Are you gonna? Okay.
Well, say pretty fast. You guys want to do the voice of DC meeting tonight, or do you want to get back to the trial to? So in the last one. And I was chatting today, so.
The red hang up.
Next week.